have 2 more rehearsals left before we get into tech. Tech will start adding all the lights and sound and more props, and everything should start coming together. But tonight's the first night they'll actually be putting the whole show together as a thread from beginning to end.
At this point, it's really about putting all those pieces back together again. Hopefully in rehearsal, we've spent a lot of time on each moment, not only technically, but acting-wise, and how each part of the story is coming together, whether it's moving a chair where it needs to be, or whether it's finding the truth of a specific moment in the story, so that now when we're at this stage where we're just getting it together that last final time before we invite an audience to see it, that it's really about all of those pieces coming together. Because in something with this many moving parts, there's no room for error, really. There's no room for something to be out of place.
Sitzprobe. So it's the first time the actors and the musicians, in a normal show, it's the first time the actors and musicians meet for the first time. This show, it's a little different because people are crossing over. So we've had a couple people, the actors who have played, that have been in some rehearsals and such. And normally, this part of the game would happen much later in the process. But because we're so interspersed, we bring them in about a week early. So no one's at the top of the game right now. We're still all kind of learning. I'm still changing arrangements and such. But I'm excited. I'm happy with where we are right now, and it's only going to get better.
I used to tell myself that I had everything, but that was only half true.
I mean, well, FreeFall, first off, will take anything that's, quote, old and make it somehow relevant, you know? And that's exactly what Eric has done with this show. But I think that this story in general is timeless, just in different circumstances. I mean, how many, look at a lot of places in the South, I have to say, that are still living so much in the past, and we've moved forward and care about people, and it's all about forward progress, and we still see it today that people are, kicking and screaming, to keep from going forward, So it's very relevant, yeah.
David Mann in this production is just
to die for.
To die for. He's wonderful, and it is. I mean, the journey that he gets to take is second to none as far as characters. I mean, Tevye's journey in it is amazing, but the way, the twists and turns that David chooses to take in that journey are magical. Just magical.
So let's take it from 116. This is If I Were a Rich Man, right after Sweetest Gift of All, after the lovely sigh. So 16. If, 3, 4.
If I were a rich man, if I were a wealthy man, I wouldn't have to work hard.
No, it's, and it's not a role that I would normally play. They're casting against type with me on this. This is not, for whatever reason, Tevye became, when we were just talking about this, when Zero Mostel did it, and then, of course, Topol doing it, it became this sort of, not fat, but, rotund kind of guy. And we're laughing about it because we're like, all they talk about is how poor they are. Everybody's poor and starving. That's all they talk about through the whole thing. So why is everybody fat? You know what I mean? It makes no sense whatsoever. So, but it became the quintessential thing. And, we just hope that the audience isn't like, I don't walk out on stage and they go, that's not Tevye. What is he doing? He's not fat. Take him back. I want somebody else.
It says, what brought you here? And a lot of them say, oh, I see Matt posted something on Facebook or something crazy like that. Would he get off with Facebook? Like Matt on Facebook, Matt on Twitter, Matt on
I've done the show quite a few times. How many have you done the show before?
No.
This is the first time? I think a lot of what Eric
our director has brought to it is a lot of those moments, like the end of the wedding, where the constable comes in and they in the show a lot of times they trash the stage, but they can't quite do it because of course everything they break has to work the next night in the performance. Or for instance, Anna Tevka is just them sitting around singing to one another, which is effective. But getting to see the visuals in the theater and getting to see the pictures of what people really went through, I think it's going to be much more profound and much more effective.
Well, and especially during Anna Tevka, getting to see it as an actor, because he makes
those pictures.
He makes us look at it. So
yeah, those pictures
are
quite.
It's effective as an actor for you to be doing the number while you're getting to see the visuals, which you don't normally get to see.
No, not at all. Yeah.
He made a point of us looking at it too, so it actually helps your performance, I think.
Yeah.
This is probably one of the most unique productions I've ever been a part of. And I have done another actor-musician piece before, and it was unique in its own sense. But this one, the intimacy of the space in relation to the audience, in relation to the arrangements, the instruments used, the sound of the instrumentation, that's unique in itself. And I don't necessarily know that I would have ever done this show if it wasn't for that particular element.
Well, I think the biggest thing with this production is, it's first of all, it's a classic musical. Everybody loves it, and the original orchestrations are beautiful. People are used to the movie version. John Williams did the orchestrations for the movie, and they're gorgeous. And it's how to fit this into our space. And I think the approach, I mean, Eric always takes a very bold, artistic, and a very honest approach to things. And I think doing this production, we wanted to be honest to the type of music that would have been played in Anna Tevka. So I listened to a lot of klezmer music and tried to find that. I mean, it's obviously in the score already, but to what would have been played in the town at that time, you probably wouldn't have had French horn, a big, all this. You wouldn't have had timpanis and stuff like that. So we tried to do instruments that would have been there and that our actors played too.
What is the difference if I answer right or wrong? When you're rich, they think you already know.
So we're adding the musicians now, and we're actually adding the musicians incredibly early. We'd normally not add them till much later, but because they're so integral to how we're presenting the piece, it was important for us to bring them in so we get a sense of how they're going to affect and change things, because now I have a bunch of new kind of fixes that we have to do to staging things and all sorts of stuff like that.
Is it fun for you to be in the show as well as?
It is, because we weren't comfortable as say symphonic opera and musical theater musicians to do anything other than sit in the pit, and this way we get to move around amongst the other actors, singers, and musicians, and so it's going outside the box for a few of us, and it's very exciting because you're part of the action, part of everything.
Today we're on our 13th rehearsal. We're going to be doing our designer stumble through today after we finish up the last 10 pages of blocking. So the designer stumble through lets the designers see what's going on, what we've been doing, gives them an idea of where to put lights, where to aim lights, what they're going to do, kind of how the show's going to look.
For the most part, I've worked on my own on this one, and Eric has had some little notes here and there for me, and he tells me when he doesn't like something, and if I have a question about how something's going to work or I need his opinion, I ask him, and we have a very good relationship where we talk about those things and we come up with a solution for him. But for the most part, I've done Fiddler 7 times now. I know the music so well that I know where all those changes are happening and know where there need to be cues.
My focus, I mean, today is sort of not about the actors, But my focus, honestly, at this point is just to know where I'm supposed to be, when I'm supposed to be there. And because, that makes it easier for the designers. If I'm in the right place, it's certainly going to make it a lot easier for them to light me, and light everybody else. So that's my focus today.
And with designer run-throughs, they're not looking for a performance either. There's already going to be the stress because the designers will be here to impress. People might think, younger actors do that a lot. Sometimes older actors do too. They feel like if someone's in the room, then they must be performing, as opposed to just working moment to moment and knowing that some moments aren't there. Like, I'm already aware that there are some things that aren't there yet that we're still searching for, and that's what this next week is all about. So
this is really not about us at this point, frankly. It's really about the designers, about making sure that everything is. So you have to be careful, because the desire is to sort of go crazy and have a lot of fun, because you have audience, but at the same time you have to go to the places where it's supposed to go to, because the designers have to see what it is, right? I mean, the right answer, Eric? It's all the right answer right there. So, you know what I mean? It's really about them at this point, about seeing where everything is. And, but it's also, it's scary, because, you start to put things back together, and, it's not quite there yet, and that makes you scared and all that kind of stuff. So.
Well, I mean, there's always at this point this sort of daunting journey ahead of us, and we've got a lot to do before we open, but as long as each of us does our job in the next 11 days, we'll be all set to go. And I have a lot of figuring out to do as far as how some of the traffic happens between scenes, because this is a massive show to squeeze into this tiny, tiny space. So there's a lot of planning and transitions and moving of things that has to be worked out once we start to go into tech. So the next 2 days for me is going to be about figuring all that out.